All right, Necromaniacs, here we are again. This is going to be part 2 of the skills section. I want to go over some things and I want to rant a little bit, of course. I see some of you guys saying that I'm using old rules, and I don't understand that because from what I can tell, there hasn't been a new core rule book that came out unless it just, slipped under the radar during the COVID-19. But I'm going with the Dark Uprising rules, and I always bounce that off of what I call the core rule book, and they almost always exactly the same. There might be small changes you'll see in there or stuff that got moved around a little bit or something like that, but otherwise these are the rules I use. So unless you're saying I'm using old rules, I don't know what you're talking about. And the only thing I can think of is that you think that this is like a new core rule book. This is not. This is what I would say is they're going to kind of a codex book system is what they're trying to do here to sell us more books. And this is the way I would interpret it, is the Goliath Codex. And I know that there's new rules, there's updated versions of some of the like brutes and stuff like that in there, but from what here's what I'd say. If you don't have a Goliath player that has the Goliath Codex, then these are not new rules. And I would say that these are supplemental rules, and you can use the newer version if you play Goliath or if you even have this book. But I'm not going to force my players to say you have to buy this book if you want to use those brutes because the updated version of that. I'll use the stuff from the regular books from now. I'm not going to force my players to go buy a codex for a gang that they don't even have and they don't even like to play just to have the brutes and stuff like that. In the end, turns out I have all the books anyways, and my players can use my books. But this is not a core rule book. So when you're saying I'm not using new rules, that's the only thing I can think of, and I disagree. And I guess the reason, think of my philosophy here. Here's what I'm doing, guys. I'm trying to get you guys to learn the rules, and those 2 core rule books are the rules that 99% of players are going to use. Yes, you might run into a campaign that has a Goliath player that's using that new brute, and you're using a Law and Order campaign, and you can go so many different ways, and I can't teach you the rules for every specific situation that's out there that might be able to arise, and I wish I could. I wish I could spend 5 hours on a video, and I wish you guys would watch every minute of it, but unfortunately, you guys would probably tune out after about the first 20 minutes and be like, okay, I don't need to watch every possible situation you can use jump up in. And I wish that I could go over those, but I can't do that. So things like skills, stuff like that, I know you guys are out there saying, hey, wait a minute, you can use the gotcha card. That's what I call the tactics cards. You could use the gotcha card. It allows you to go 24 inches, and then you can combo that with if you have this settlement, and then you can go, and I get it, guys. I know you guys are out there. There's one in every shop that knows every power combo that's out there, and if your shop doesn't have one, got bad news. You might be that guy. But the answer is, I can't cover all those different subjects, and I can't cover every possible situation and every possible campaign and with every possible gang configuration and give you the tactics for those. What I'm trying to do is give you the skills, what I think about them, how I would use them, just my ideas and stuff like that, so you guys learn the rules better. You guys are aware of how that skill works. And if I mess it up, like I'm about to explain, because I do, then the next video, I jump in and I say, hey guys, I screwed something up, and I want you guys to take it. I want you to see it the right way, because what I did is one of I believe the bronze skills for headbutt is it doesn't use 2d6 together. You count each die individually, which makes it significantly worse. So I think I said that it was a good, and unfortunately because of that, it's going to be a mediocre or bad because of that, because it makes it go from getting a decent roll so that you equal or exceed their strength. Now, if they have a strength 4, man, that's going to be tough. Now, you got 2 dice to try and do it, but you're not adding them together, and that's the difference. And I didn't explain that, and I explained it wrong. And so, guys, if I get it wrong, trust me, I'll correct it in the next video, but I'm not going to go over every possible situation of, well, actually, if you have this and blah, blah, blah. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. But what I will say is when I cover that campaign, I will try and insert, hey, you know what would be amazing with this skill would be to use this skill in that campaign. So when I individually cover those campaigns, those gangs, When I cover this book, guess what? I'm going to go over those brute characters. You'll see them again, and you'll see the updated version this time. I'm not going to go back and get the other book and say, well, actually, we use this one. I'm going to cover the guy that's in this book. So don't worry. These Codex reviews are going to come. It looks like Genestealer's one for me. Turns out I'm biased because Genestealers are my favorite gang and it's who I play most of the time. But we're going to do Genestealers next. That's going to be the next video. I'm going to try and get some games in this weekend and then start working on a video for it as soon as possible for next week. At least part one, because I'm going to have so much to say on those that we're probably going to have to do 2 videos like we did with skills, like we did with enforcers. Okay, moving on. Let's get back to skills and finish this up. All right. First on the list is going to be the Ferocity skills. We got Berserker. When a fighter makes a close combat attack as per part of a charge, they roll 1 additional attack die. Great. Easy skill, easy to use, easy to remember, also important. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong with this one. That additional attack die, maybe it's just me, but I want as many attacks as possible. Even if I'm hitting on 2s, trust me, I can roll all 1s. And maybe 1, 2, stuff like that. So that's why I want to get as many dice rolling as possible to give myself the best odds, especially if I'm hitting on 3s or 4s, something like that. So Berserker, great skill for a combat guy. Obviously, that's going to be a Ferocity skill. So easy add-on. Now, you may want to take this as a second skill. Let's see what some of these other skills do. Fearsome. If an enemy wishes to make a charge double action that would result in them making 1 or more close combat attacks against the fighter, they must make a willpower check before moving. If the check is failed, they cannot move and their activation ends immediately. Now, if you're playing against the Corpse Grinder Colts, then you know this one. This is what their masks do for most of the guys, and some of the masks are even worse, where you can't even shoot at them without passing a willpower check. That's ridiculously good. The Fearsome is good if you have a lot of close combat gangs in your campaign. So this is definitely something you want to think about when you're using that, so that you can get the charge off, not them get the charge on you. Because if they stutter step because they fail the Fearsome check, then now you on the next turn, or maybe even the next activation, can get the charge on that guy that just moved up. Something like that. So great skill. It is I guess it's campaign dependent on if you need to take it. If you're a bunch of run and gun gangs that are just running around shooting each other, this would be completely useless. So as I always say, it kind of depends on the campaign you're playing if this is going to be a great skill or a trash skill. So most of the time it's going to be good on obviously a close combat gang, and also one that is going against other close combat gangs pretty regularly. Impetuous. When the fighter consolidates at the end of combat, they can move up to 4 inches rather than usual 2. This you could use to, I don't think you can use the Impetuous to move into combat. Like you'd have to use a charge to do that. If I get it right, I'll double check that, and I'll put, if I'm wrong, I'll put that down here. But it lets you get into cover. It lets you get safe before you get, you kill that guy, you coup de grace, awesome, got him, and then the guy with the plasma gun just walks up and just annihilates you in the street after you took that guy out. So this allows you to get to safety. That's probably the main way I would use this. It gives you just more movement after the kill, so you can continue to move on and stay safe after close combat. Nerves of Steel. When the fighter is hit by a ranged attack, make a cool check for them. If it's passed, they can choose not to be pinned. Again, somebody was like, hey, Nerves of Steel is way better than Jump Up. Yes, I agree. I hadn't covered it yet. But yes, this is great. It keeps you from even being knocked down in the first place, and you got to make a cool check for it. Most of the gangs have good cool checks. Actually, I would say that Escher don't have as good of a cool check, which is why Jump Up is better for them, obviously. And then they may not be able to take Ferocity skills anyways, but if they're a Ferocity skill gang and they can take this, I would say a lot of the gangs that are close combat gangs have decent cool checks as well, but still, great skill. This is one of those ones that it's an automatic. This is universally agreed as one of the greatest skills. So this is where you might want to take Berserker after you get Nerves of Steel, because you can avoid pinning, and if they can pin you, then they can get more actions than you, which means they can take more moves and shots and aims and everything more than you, and have the advantage against you, which makes it very hard to win a game if you're being pinned all the time. So try to do it to your opponent. Try to get skills and abilities that help you jump up or have Nerves of Steel, so you can ignore their pinning, which gives you the ability to get number advantage, action advantage, helps you win the match. Next is going to be True Grit. When making an injury roll for the fighter, roll 1 less injury die, or 2 and pick the best situation, I guess. This is very much like a Blood Bowl style roll, where you roll either better because it's 1 less die. If the guy gets 3 injury dice rolls against you, he only does 2 now instead of 3. Or if he only does 1, which is most of the time, an early campaign, especially until you really start getting those plasma cannons and stuff like that really do a bunch of damage. Most of the time it's going to be 1 injury die from those auto guns, las guns, things like that. And this lets you to roll, the ability to roll 2. If it was just 1, it turns into 2, and you pick the least bad result, I guess is what you'd say on there. So great, very survivable, helps you make sure that you just get those flesh wounds, stand back up, keep going into battle. Next is going to be Unstoppable. Before making a recovery test for the fighter in the end phase, roll a d6. If the result is 4 or more, 1 flesh wound they have suffered previously is discarded. If they do not have any flesh wounds and the results of 4 or more, 1 additional die for their recovery check. They roll 1 additional die for their recovery check and choose 1 to discard. It's going to be very similar to True Grit in that if they have flesh wounds, they can roll a die for this, and on a 4+, they lose 1 of those flesh wounds, so it's kind of like they regenerate, is the way I think about it, wounds, and which means they would gain a toughness back to keep them alive, keep them fighting, keep them moving back towards healthy. But if they don't have that, then they roll an additional die and discard 1, very similar to the end of the True Grit rule, so that it gives you the best chance of getting that flesh wound so that you can get back into action. Okay, on to the leadership skills. We got Commanding Presence. When the fighter activates and makes a group activation, they may include one more fighter than normal. So if it's a champion, they would do 2 fighters instead of just 1, and a leader could do 3. Now, I've put in my tactics videos how I use those, so this could be useful, especially with that Alpha Strike that you've set up the turn before, and then that next turn you try to win priority, and then you strike and you get an extra guy that can go up. And if you have a leader that has this is great, because you can make sure you get 3 guys going, including your leader, to get shots off. You know, these are going to be your champions, your good gangers, or guys that are even in position that you can get set up. And shoot, even if you're getting just an extra auto gun shut off, that could be a critical hit that takes somebody down. So use this to continue to put yourself into advantage. Now, like I've talked about, having more men gives you an automatic way to do a group activation at the end of the turn. That's the way I always think of it, is if I have more guys on the table, then he can only go so many times after, you know, we go back and forth. And eventually there's going to come a point where I just go and go and go, because he doesn't have anybody else that can activate, because they've all activated, and now I have an automatic just pseudo group activation at the end of every turn, which is what I work towards in every game. I always try and get a majority advantage. Now sometimes the scenario dictates that you just don't do that, but hey, play defensive and see what you can do. Sometimes you can go start with, they have 10 and you have 7, and a few good turns where you're playing tactically and very defensive, and they make some mistakes, they get overextended, they get themselves into spots because they're cocky, because they have more guys than you, and they, you know, send one guy away around. You know, be ready to jump in and take that guy out. You know, set up a trap for that guy. The second he gets into a room where he's out, there's no, you know, good cover or minimal cover, that's where you take him out. Set up a trap for him, stuff like that. They'll make mistakes, especially when they feel like they're winning, or especially when they feel like they have a major advantage and stuff. So in men and actions and stuff like that. So let them get overconfident and then slowly change the balance to where you're the one with the guys in charge. Because you don't have to take out their champions. You don't have to take their leaders out. Take out their Jews. Take out their gangers. You can get them to bottle killing those guys. You take those guys out, they fail a bottle test, all of a sudden they lost the scenario, even though they had way more guys. So I don't go for their good guys. Those guys are hard to kill. They got all these crazy skills on them that make them really good and hard to kill. Don't go after those guys. You need to put your champions and your leader going after their Jews and their gangers. Don't go after their good guys. That's just how you get yourself injured and killed. So next leadership skills is going to be inspirational. If a friendly fighter within 6 inches of a fighter fails a cool check, make a leadership check for this fighter. If the leadership check is passed, then the cool check also counts as having been passed. So this guy can help people with their cool checks in case they fail them. He can just do a leadership test. Hopefully they have decent leadership. Mostly guys do. I can't think of anybody that just has like bad leadership most of the time, because it's going to be a leader or a champion or something like that that's going to have this. Iron Will, subtract 1 from the result of the bottle roll whilst this fighter is on the battlefield, not seriously injured. This one is like, I'm trying to think of a Blood Bowl version of this, like the leader, it's called leadership I think in Blood Bowl. It gives you a reroll if that guy's on the field and not seriously injured. But this one is good to make sure you don't bottle test. If you're playing Escher, a gang, you know, those gangs that once they bottle, they really start failing those cool checks and they really start disappearing off the field. Trying to get yourself to where you don't take those bottle tests by having the most men, by having as many men as you can get on the battlefield, having a nice big gang that you can pack on as many guys as you can, is an amazing thing, and this makes it +1 to that. So this goes a long way, especially if you have bottle issues with some of your gangs. This also could, I guess in a way, make it so you can take that guy with the plasma gun. Instead of getting 2 gangers, you might get a plasma gun instead for your champion, something like that, because you know you already have that +1 to your bottle. So you can purchase that weapon that you've been wanting to get instead of getting another body on the field to give you numerical advantage. This might kind of protect and hedge against that, so you don't bottle out as quick because your gang is not as big. So that's another way to use this is to use it in lieu of another ganger on the field. This Iron Will can help you out with that. So next is gonna be Mentor. Make a leadership check for this fighter. Each time another friendly fighter within 6 inches gains a point of experience. If the check is passed, the other fighter gains 2 experience instead of 1. Wow, great. I mean, this is one of those skills to start a gang with and keep next to those champions with plasma rifles. Those, you know, run up with them when they're going in with their melee weapons, stuff like that. This is how you build a gang and really get it going. And this would be a first skill that you want to take. You don't want to take this later on. You want to get this rolling. And this especially helps for those gangers and Jews and stuff like that that don't get kills that often. But when they do with this, when they get those experience points, you can really start to compound those by doubling them up. Great skill. I don't see people using this as much, and I've never used it, so we should try this in a campaign setting. If you have, please comment, let me know, what do you think? This one could be really good, obviously, in a campaign setting. Overseer. If the fighter's active, they can attempt to make a following action. Order is a double action. Pick a friendly fighter within 6 inches. That fighter can immediately make 2 actions as though it's their turn to activate, even if they are not ready. If they are ready, these actions do not move their marker. So pretty much you pass your go onto another character so that you can get another shot with that plasma gun, get another charge going with your good melee guy, stuff like that. So this is literally leadership. This is your overseer, making sure you move that guy up and then use overseer to have him make his charge during that next activation. So great use, good way to combo this. I like it for shooting plasma guns as many times as possible. I like this for moving up my aberrant and then using overseer to get him to charge. I know that there's a psychic ability that the Genestealers have that can also allow something like that, but this is how I would probably use that personally, is to get a charge off or to get extra shots with my weaponry, especially if the guy has I can't think of what it is right now. I want to say gunfighter, but that's not correct. Fast shot that allows you to shoot multiple times. You could get 4 shots with a plasma gun because he goes with his activation, shoots twice. Then you use overseer and he shoots twice more. Wow, that's pumping out a lot of plasma gun, especially with some rapid fire. Amazing. So this one could be really, this one's probably one of the best of leadership skills. Regroup. If the fighter is standing inactive at the end of their activation, the controlling player may make a leadership check for them. If the check is passed, each fighter that is currently subject to the broken condition and within 6 inches immediately recovers from being broken. Broken rules, I feel, are one of the most forgotten regular rule that people don't think about. When that guy gets shot down next to your group with munitioneer and stuff like that, that's when I see it, is when my munitioneer goes down or the plasma gun guy goes down. All the time we forget to do this. So the break test is one of the main things that people will forget. So I don't know how good this skill is because of that, mainly because people will forget to take their break test whenever people go down around them. Also, so they don't, it's a regularly forgotten normal rule. So this could be good. I mean, at least it helps them regroup. And so if they're broken, and which I'm pretty sure this would still give them the experience for recovering from the broken condition. But I guess this is so specific, and you'd have to be in line to be near them after they've broken. It would get really weird to get, I mean, it has a 6-inch range, but I wouldn't take this. I don't like this skill, mainly because people always forget to do their break tests. I try and remind them when I take a guy down. I look for clumps of guys, and if I can take one out, then I'll be like, oh yeah, by the way, those guys got to take break tests, because it's forgotten a lot if you don't point it out. And don't feel bad about doing that. Just, it's the rules. And maybe one guy will fail it. That's the thing, is most of the time they'll be fine. But remember that rule, because it can really help you out. The guy, freaks out and breaks, amazing. But I don't like this one for the skill. It's a bad skill. I would take Overseer. I'd take Mentor. I would take Commanding Presence before I'd take any of these other ones. So those are probably my top 3. Let me know what you think about those. Alright guys, on to the Savant skills. I got 2 favorites in here. First is going to be Ballistics Expert. When this fighter makes an aim basic action, make an intelligence check for them. If it's passed, they gain an additional +1 to their hit roll. I like aim. It's one of my favorite abilities to use as an action. So this makes it even better. Now, not a whole lot of gangs get the Savant skills, so those Delok guys, stuff like that, this is a great skill. I like it. It's what I'm going to be packing on to my guys. This, and let's go over the next one. That is one of my favorites. It's going to be Munitioneer. Whenever an ammo check is failed for this fighter or another fighter from their gang within 6 inches, it can be re-rolled. I love this. I love it for bolt guns. I love it for plasma guns. I love it for all the guns that have crappy ammo that you're scared to death to run out of, to where you have to revert back to that las gun or auto gun. This guy keeps people in the fight, and it allows them to get a reroll whenever their ammo check is failed. So that's so good. And I love to pack these guys. I like to set up a little fire team of my champions and put this guy in there. He's going to be one of those champions, and he's just going to make sure everybody keeps enough ammo to where they can set up and just blaze away. So those are probably my 2 favorite Savant skills, 1 and 2. Next is going to be Connected / Scavenger's Instinct. The fighter can make a trade action during the post-battle sequence. In addition, any other actions they make, meaning they can make 2 trade actions. They cannot do this if they are unable to make actions during the post-battle sequence, such as like they're injured or something like that. This one's good. It's very obviously campaign specific. We don't use, I do a lot of the Dark Uprising campaign. I think we've done once, used it and had the trading post there. So I'm not super familiar with the trading posts. I don't talk about it because of that a whole lot. But this would be good if you can get it in there to make sure you're getting the stuff you need in most instances, or at least get a chance to at least go look at it in case somebody else needs to go to other stuff. Okay, next is going to be Fixer. In the receive reward step of the post-battle sequence, as long as the fighter is not captured or in recovery, the gang earns an additional D3 times syncretics. Note that they do not need to have taken part in the battle to gain this bonus. So this guy just helps you get credits, and this is one that you might want to get early. I don't think I'd take this as a first skill. There's so many other better skills out there, like Ballistics Expert, things that will help you in the battle. But as a secondary skill, for that munitioneer or somebody that's hopefully going to be in the backfield, not getting themselves in danger too much, man, another 30 credits potentially added on is good. I don't know if it's amazing. I guess the answer is there may be other skills. There may be better stat buffs, stuff like that you'd rather have. But this one is good. It's just not amazing because it's only 30 credits. I guess I say apprehensively, because hey, 30 credits could get you, 2 weapons. If they're 15 points each, 2 basic weapons, it's not going to buy you a plasma gun, but it might be enough to get just enough to where you can afford that plasma gun, stuff like that. That's the kind of what I'm thinking of as like, man, I had 70 credits. If I only had 30 more credits, I could get that plasma gun for the next scenario. Boom, you roll that D3 and you get 30 more credits. Now you can get that plasma gun, you're set up, you're ready for the next scenario. That's probably how I would hope that it would be used. Next is Medicae. When a fighter assists a friendly fighter who is making a recovery test, reroll an out of action result. If the result is rerolled as an out of action, the result stands. So this one gives you a reroll on your out of action result. I guess what I would say is I probably wouldn't put this on a dedicated gang member. If anything, I would just get the Medicae hanger on that's coming out, especially with the new cool model. And just use her to she has Medicae and she has a Medicae pack, equipment. And with those two together, she's going to do a great job, and she's kind of dedicated to do that thing. So I personally wouldn't use this skill just because I don't want to have a medic guy running around trying to help people out. I'd rather have that dedicated hanger-on running around doing that. Last is going to be the Savvy Trader / Savvy Scavenger ability. When this fighter makes a trade action in the post-battle sequence, add 1 to the result of the die to determine the availability of rare items on offer at the trading post. Additionally, the cost of 1 item may be reduced by 20 credits during the visit. This means 1 item, not 1 type of item. Single power sword may be purchased for 30 credits, but the second power sword would be back to 50, etc. So during the damnation phase of an uprising campaign, when this fighter makes a scavenge action, add 1 or 2 to the result of the die on the scavenging table. Scavenger's Instincts is used instead of Connected during an uprising campaign. Savvy Scavenger is similarly used instead of Savvy Trader. So this one helps you during the Dark Uprising campaign. I like that. And it also helps you out in the trading post to get those rarer items and to get items cheaper. So I would probably get this before I'd get Fixer, really, because he gets a guaranteed reduced by 20 credits. So that like the example I used earlier of the plasma gun, you may not roll 3 on a D3, but if you guarantee that you get minus 20, then that plasma gun is guaranteed to be 80 credits instead of 100 credits or something like that. So I like the guarantee versus the D3 roll. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 30, who knows, we'll see. Ability of that. So I would probably take this before I take the Fixer ability. So that does it for Savant skills. Let's move on to shooting. All right, last section is going to be the shooting skills, and first we got Fast Shot. This makes the ganger treat the shoot action as a simple skill rather than a basic skill, and you can do a simple skill twice, even the same one. I've seen people like, oh, you can only do 1 skill 1 time. No, a simple skill can be used twice. Even the same one can be used twice, and I can see it's poorly worded in the rule book on how that goes, but you can use the same simple skill twice. So that allows you to shoot twice, which can be really good. Now you don't get the aim, obviously, which is why you want to get things that allow you to ignore cover with shooting skills, things like that, so that you can take 2 shots and have a buff still like aim. And we'll see some of those in these shooting skills coming up. So I really like this one. 2 plasma shots with rapid fire, amazing. That's what I love it this for. If I got a champion that can take shooting skills, that's most of the time what he's gonna take is either the fast shot or I want to say it's precision shot. No. Trick shot. So fast shot, trick shot is going to be the 2 favorite here. So let's go over trick shot next. When a fighter makes a range attack, they do not suffer a penalty for the being engaged or in partial cover. In addition, if the target is in full cover, they reduce the penalty to hit roll to -1 instead of -2. So they ignore the engaged if they're fighting someone. They ignore the partial cover, so -1 goes to 0, so it's ignored, is what they're saying there. And then in addition, if they're in full cover, which is -2, it goes down to -1. So get this, it's automatic aim. That's the way I think about it. Now, one thing that you could use, I guess, to get away from this that we didn't really talk about when we went over the evade skill, the evade skill negates this. And it also negates an aim, because an aim and this helps you when they're engaged or in cover Not if they're running around with evade. So evade gives you automatic -1, -2, but it doesn't say it gives you cover while you're running around out in the middle of the street with evade. So evade is just, here we go, here's some tactics. Evade allows you to ignore this trick shot ability or just an aim ability if you're just running around out without cover. So I really like this though. This is something I'd probably put this second, do fast shot first, and then trick shot second. And then of course try and buff up my ballistic skill for that fighter. So those would be probably the 2 skills I'd want to take, and then a ballistic skill stat increase would probably be the stats. That's why I'd spend my experience for one of my shooters. Next is going to be Gunfighter. I love this. I love my dual wielding and triple wielding Genestealers especially. Using Gunfighter allows you to do the twin guns blazing rule to attack with weapons. You ignore the -1 penalty to hit rolls, so that you can shoot without the -1 to both those pistols, or all 3 pistols if you're a Genestealer. So this gets really, really good with Genestealers. I love this. I put on my leaders. I think they have the shoot abilities. I want to say the champions don't have shooting skills. There's something weird like that in there. We'll cover that whenever we go over that. But if they can take a shooting skill and you got a pistolier, this is definitely what you want to put on them. Next is going to be hip shooting, and fighters standing and active. They can make the following action: run and gun, double action. Fighter may move up to double their movement and then make an attack with the ranged weapons. It suffers a -1, and the unwieldy can never be used in conjunction with this skill. So a lot of people like this one, but I don't. I guess the answer is I'm most of the time I don't want to run up real close. I guess you could, probably the best thing for this is if you're running up with like an auto gun, and you want to get that -1, -2 short range ability with like a stub gun or an auto gun, something like that. You want to just run up in their face, be within 4 inches or so, and get the maximum bonus to be able to shoot, which would negate that -1 modifier to this. But that's part of the problem too, is the -1 modifier for running all the way up. Well, it better be a -2 then, because otherwise it wouldn't be worth it to get into range just to lose the benefit, because it's already -1 from that. So I guess that's how I don't love this one because of that, but you see a lot of people suggesting, hey, do this so you can move into position and then you can shoot. I hope to be in position when I shoot so that I can aim and then take my shot. So I don't like this one because of that. Most of the time I don't want to get closer anyways, especially with a shooting gang. But so this one's mediocre at best. Maybe a second skill, something like that, to make sure you're right where you want to be before you take that shot. Next is going to be Marksman. The fighter is not affected by the target priority. In addition, if the hit roll for an attack made by this fighter with a ranged attack scores a 6, they score a critical hit. The weapon's damage is doubled. So I guess in this we got target priority. So first thing is, unfortunately people forget about target priority all the time. So unfortunately everyone has Marksman in a lot of games because people will forget to use this and forget to use target priorities. Now I keep guys together so that I keep the crappy guy up front, so I'm going to call them on it when they try and shoot that guy behind. I'm going to be like, no, guys, shoot the crappy guy that's up in front of him. So I will remember it because of the way I situate my guys and the way I set them up. But this one is almost like everybody has Marksman if you forget to use target priority, and a lot of people do. So this one's not amazing. It also happens on a 6, score a critical hit and double the damage. I don't love things on 6, you know that. And then I guess precision shot also happens on a 6. If the hit for a roll of a ranged attack made by this fighter is a natural 6 on the 2 hit rule, then the shot hits an exposed area and they don't get an armor save. I wouldn't take this. I don't like things on a 6. If there was some way to buff it up so it happened like if they were, it was a 6, but then it was plus, it was on a 5 if you were at short range, or maybe because the weapon was stronger, it was on a 5 or a 4 or something like that. If there was some way to buff up the precision shot, I would like it so that you could increase the 6 to a 5 or a 4. That would be better. I just don't know how they would do that, and obviously that's not what it is, so I don't like that, and I don't like things that happen on a 6 because that happens 1/6 of the time. So every 6 shots, you might negate someone's armor save. So I don't love it. I wouldn't use it for that. So I don't like Marksman because of it, and I don't like Precision Shot. So I'd use Fast Shot, great. Gunfighter, great. Trick Shot, great. Hip Shooting Marksman are the mediocre ones, and then Precision Shot is the worst because it happens on a 6, and that's the only thing that happens, so I wouldn't take that one. So that's our shooting stuff, guys. That covers it for the skills. Let me know in the comments down below what you like, what you don't like. If you had something happen, if you have a great story about using these skills, I want to hear it. I want you to show it down below in the comments so that we can all see it, and that way we can try and do it in our own games. So let us know. Let me know what combos you use with these skills, so we can go over it and show it with the community. All right, that's all I got tonight. Static out.